Hello friends, many projects in the winter studio. The new one is coming today, Ultegra 6700 left shifter. I'm sorry for the sound reverb in this studio. We are really coming with the new one. Lots of work, but on the way. This is the shifter which is already ready. Ultegra 6700 10 speed, but this is the left one, so 2 speed for the double crankset. There are things you are going to need, like pliers, picks, little screwdriver, very little one, but also Torx T5. There is just one screw on the whole shifter that requires T5, which is not so often used even in the bike workshop, but T5 will be needed here. Tweezers are also very handy. Of course, the grease, little brush for applying the grease, clean rags, some kind of lubrication, spray lubrication would also be fine, just to get into some places on your shifter. Now I'm taking it all apart. As you can see, it's very dirty, so I'm gonna clean it and grease it first and then get back to you with the actual installation of all the little parts. Now everything is clean and degreased, and please do not ignore what I'm telling you. Your table should be perfectly clean. No, not even the smallest piece of dust or sand. If just one piece of sand gets in between these, you're doing everything all over again. So you're gonna have to clean the grease you've already put on those parts. It's like a couple of hours of work. So everything is clean now. And then I'm going to show you how to put all these parts on the table, and I'm gonna grease them. Okay, we are ready to roll. Everything is covered with grease except one place here on the braking lever, because I want to show you how to apply the grease there. You do this, and then we can apply grease on the spring here. That's how it was made by factory. I cleaned the factory grease. Let's go over the parts. Please put all the parts just as I'm putting them. This is the pin or the pivot for the shifting mechanism. Assembling this shifting mechanism will require the most attention from you. And here it goes from the left to the right. This little bushing belongs to this part, and then it comes this one with the spring right here. I will be showing you everything step by step. Just make sure you have all these parts right here. Here is a little cover with 2 identical screws on one side and this one and only T5 Torx on the other side. And into this thing will go 2 springs. One is shorter, silver, and one is longer, black. But there is one more spring right here, and you can see that is much smaller than the one that we put here. There is one little metal part with 2 little black screws and this smaller black spring. This is the cover for it. Here is the braking lever. You might try to disassemble a couple of more parts of it. It won't improve anything, and it's actually very easy to clean all these springs, all moving parts, without disassembling anything else here. This is the pin for it, or the pivot, and the circlip. This is the reach adjustment pad right here. Then we have the cover for the braking cable with a small screw. Then we have same exact small screw for the larger cover, and on the other side it requires a larger one here. You will see that later. And this is our mounting bolt with this spacer here and this little mechanism. And now we can start assembling it. Just a small picture for you so that you can put it all together. Pause this video right here and let's do it. This seems like a screw here, but you can actually turn it and nothing happens. It holds that plastic part. You don't have to remove it. I'm not sure you can actually disassemble it. This cover is just for the electronics for the so-called flight deck system, which can show you the gear you're on the display. And this is the cover for the wiring for that system. You can remove it, but there's no point of doing it. And while removing it, there's high risk that you will break some of the small pins that are actually holding it to our body. And here's the body from the left side. We are starting with this little pin. Here we go. You want to have a groove on the right side for the circlip. Here's the hole for it. It is extremely difficult to film, but I think I make a good job. I'm making a good job for you here. Okay, this is it. Once you can see it, pull it back, because now we need to take this pole. Here it is, and this little spacer or washer, what it is actually, it's most likely a part that must reduce the friction, because this pole will be moving. Now we take it and we put it down there. This little spacer will move, but you can first push the pole in and then fix this spacer. Now this will be assembled. Okay, the pin doesn't quite go. Yeah, it went through. And this pin will go out right here, all the way in, so that we can see the groove for the circlip here. This is the smallest circlip. We have two, small one and the larger one. The small one goes here, and this is not really difficult. When you push it, it might just jump to the floor, so be careful with it. It happened to me. And make sure you are actually pushing it onto that groove. It's in. When we can spin it and it holds on to this pivot, we can be sure that it's in. And here's our pole moving. We can put a little bit more grease on it once it's in place. Grease will also make our installation easier because the parts will be more sticky. And then we'll do the most difficult part, and once we do it, it will all be super easy. This is the larger pin with no grooves, and it goes right here. Pull it back. Once we get what are these parts doing, it will be easier for us to assemble it. So this is the part with the cable stop. Okay, that's what you want to see. This is the hole. This is the hole for removing the cable and putting the new one. You don't want to have it like this. You want to have it like that. That means that you have shifted to the smallest gear. And on this side, see, on this side you will see that this guide goes all the way in to the next part of the plastic guide, which goes straight to the housing. So we don't want it up, we want it down like this. We need to back off with the pin and then see this mechanism right here, it will go like that. See the thinner side, the thinner part to the back, the thicker to the front. Then this part with a spring and with a pole. It's right here. You'll see that in a second. Okay. Here it is. And finally, this part with the tooth, this tooth to the front goes like this, and the bushing is already in. See, it moves like this. Now I'll be putting all this together inside the body, remembering that this pole right here must go behind this. And this is the trickiest moment. Use a pick to align this. Now I need to get this pole behind this, pushing through this plastic, yeah. Yeah. Okay, just push it through and it's in its place. Now it's time to get our spring. See, it should be here. So it's there. Let's just push it. Okay, this is looking good. Now I'll pick it up. And here is my spring. Now comes this, and the spring has to be hooked by this little part. Okay, I'm gonna show you this. See, it's hooked. There's a groove in this metal part, but now I also need to put a spring right there inside there, just making sure nothing is in its way. This is the small black spring. See? Okay. Almost there. And we are there. Beautiful. Now 2 little screws. And as you can see, this cable guide went up all the way, connecting to this plastic last part of the guide inside the shifter. This looks good. Why? This is aligned, so the cable will go. It all clicks. So it is looking good to me. Okay. Now, since we were handling all the parts putting them inside and outside for a couple of times. I'm just putting some grease there. Now we'll make sure that our pin is all the way in. It is. Now this cover with 2 springs. These 2 are for the springs. Smaller spring, larger spring. I'm putting 1 spring on the shifter side and the smaller one on this cover side. The small spring has a hole here, and this black, the big one, goes right here. And now I just want to make sure that the silver one will find its place also. Yeah, it sits. It sits in its place. 3 screws. 2 are Phillips. And Torx T5 goes here. Goes like this. I guess it's time for the braking lever. It's pretty easy. This goes right in there. And this goes like that. This pin goes with the groove for the circlip inwards. Right, so on this side, not on this side, on this side. Like that. And you might want to use something to help yourself push it. It goes. Don't use any metal here. You could really damage your carbon lever. This is looking good. And now comes the circlip. It goes there. And it's in. If you cannot push the circlip into its place, that means that probably your pin has to go a little bit further. But this is in. Beautiful, beautiful. This cover goes here. There goes 1 screw and the 2nd screw. Okay, you see, Ultegra, the outer side. Here goes the smaller screw. See, these are not the same. There's a larger and a smaller, so we take a smaller one here. Great. And the larger one goes on the other side. This is the reach adjustment pad, and it goes like this. And you see, this is the hole for the braking cable, and this is its cover. Here we have to be very, very careful not to damage this cover. And a small screw. Trimming, shifting, trimming, shifting, trimming, shifting, trimming, shifting. It does work. For the end, this is the whole mounting system and how it works on the shifter side. Well, there are 3 parts. This spacer has a thicker upper edge and a thinner lower edge. And we put it right like this, just under the bolt. The bolt goes here and connects with the handlebars. We've done it. Now I'm going to just clean it so that it's non-sticky and shiny from the outside, then the hood, and we can assemble the bike.